Hello, everybody. This is Suzette Viernon, and welcome to my channel where I'm redefining my 60s on my own terms. Thank you for those that joined me in my last episode where I talked about Agenda 47, focused on education. Today, I want to focus on immigration. So, it should not be a very long video because the section about immigration is not very long. I do want to, at the end of it, to just add a little bit of context and perspective. This is purely my opinion. If it's something that is different, I'll let you know. Um, I also want to say, while I invite people to share their opinions and for us to be involved um, in a rigorous exchange of ideas. I think that's where magic happens. Things can really go off kilter when it becomes bullyish or belligerent or mean-spirited, where insults are used. I don't think that's very mature. And so I ask that as you listen to what I'm sharing, that you are welcome to definitely state what you believe. I would prefer, if you're going to make a specific claim, that you can provide a source or something that people who are really listening and leaning in, because they really do want to make an informed decision, that they can research on their own. But any kind of bullying, name calling, I'm not about that. I've responded kindly to the comments, regardless to how they've come off. But as we go forward, I encourage you that, we can disagree without being disagreeable. We're all human, right? I'm just inviting you into the way that I think and the information that I have found. If you can suggest some other information that can help people in their research, then certainly do so. But I want to turn the volume down on the belligerence and on the name calling and on the sarcasm. It's very bullying, and I'll be honest with you, I am too old for that. I am too old for that. Noise, when you have a whole lot of noise, people tune you out. So while I am just as excited about my candidate as you are about yours, I do believe that no matter who wins at the end of the day, we are all Americans and we will all be in this country. So lowering the volume and let's move forward, okay? Fantastic, fantastic. As I said earlier, I'm going to be focusing on Agenda 47 and immigration. At the recommendation of some comments from the last video, where I was challenged to use a broader selection of resources, I went directly to Donald Trump's website. And I have the PDF here. This is from his 16-page PDF. You might can't see it. I don't know if you can. But anyway, and I'm reading, it's chapter 2, Seal the Border and Stop the Migrant Invasion is what it's titled, okay? I'm just going to straight read it, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts, and you're welcome to share yours, okay? Our commitment. Republicans offer an aggressive plan to stop the open border policies that have opened the floodgates to a tidal wave of illegal aliens, deadly drugs, and migrant crime. We will end the invasion at the southern border, restore law and order, protect American sovereignty, and deliver a safe and prosperous future for all Americans. Number one, secure the border. Republicans will restore every border policy of the Trump administration and halt all releases of illegal aliens into the interior. We will complete the border wall, shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, and use advanced technology to monitor and secure the border. We will use all resources needed to stop the invasion, including moving thousands of troops currently stationed overseas to our own southern border. We will deploy the U.S. Navy to impose a full fentanyl blockade on the waters of our region, boarding and inspecting ships to look for fentanyl and fentanyl precursors. Before we defend the borders of foreign countries, we must first secure the border of our country. Two, enforce immigration laws. Republicans will strengthen ICE, and that's ICE, increase penalties for illegal entry and overstaying visas, and reinstate Remain in Mexico and other policies that helped reduce illegal immigration by historic lows in President Trump's first term. We will also invoke the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members, drug dealers, or cartel members from the United States, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence once and for all. We will bring back the travel ban and use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. Begin largest deportation program in American history. President Trump and Republicans will reverse the Democrats' destructive open border policies that have allowed criminal gangs and illegal aliens from around the world to roam the United States without consequences. The Republican Party is committed to sending illegal aliens back home and removing those who have violated our laws. Strict vetting. Republicans will use existing federal law to keep foreign Christian-hating communists, Marxists, and socialists out of America. Those who join our country must love our country. We will use extreme vetting to ensure that jihadists and jihadist sympathizers are not admitted. 5. Stop sanctuary cities. Republicans will cut federal funding to sanctuary jurisdictions that release dangerous illegal alien criminals onto our streets rather than handing them over to ICE. We will require local cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. 6. Ensure our legal immigration system puts American workers first. Republicans will prioritize merit-based immigration, ensuring those admitted to our country contribute positively to our society and economy, and never become a drain on public resources. We will end chain migration and put American workers first. That is what's on his website. You're welcome to pull it up and read it for yourself. Because a lot has been said, hold on, let me roll it back, prefacing it. One of the comments that I read from the last video episode was basically how you should vet potential candidates. And being that I'm 64 years old, I will tell you how I vet them. You can vet them whatever way you choose, but this is the way I vet them. I vet them by what they say and what they do. I vet them by the energy that they exude and whether that energy aligns with my deepest core values. Now, I was raised as I said, by a mother who said, you know what, we ought to be able to disagree without becoming disagreeable. So I'm going to bring all of that into how I vet my candidate, which I already have done. But this is how I have vetted candidates since I started voting. And so I appreciate how everybody is rooting for their particular candidate. But I am a person that needs a little bit more than a rah-rah sis boom bop. I need a little bit more than this die-hardness for a candidate without accountability or without really thinking through the consequences of being governed by that kind of personality. And I will just say it straight up. I haven't forgotten the 4 years that Donald Trump, was the president of the United States. I have not forgotten what he has said, the energy with which he has said it, how a lot of people have been offended, and I understand that staunch supporters look at it as strength, but I look at it honestly as meanness. As meanness. I feel like there is a way that we can disagree. And I also feel like people who are being given the honor and privilege, or being elected rather, through the democratic process by we the people, to hold a sacred office of President of the United States, the highest office in our country. That yes, how we look to those who live outside of our country matters, but also how the country's citizens are treated matters. Okay? I believe truth matters. I believe integrity matters. All of that, I believe that matters. So I just want to put that out there. Now, back to the immigration policy. Rather than just take the words that are printed on a page, part of my vetting and my redefining politics in my 60s, I decided to look at means that are proven. Two of those, fact-checking and PolitiFact. So I have those pulled up on my computer, and I wanted to look and see what Donald Trump has been saying about immigration. And I suggest that if there are certain claims made and you want to continue to research and see how you feel about Agenda 47, that you do some fact checking. Go to these websites, and their main job is to fact check. And I think the facts are important because it speaks to the character of the candidate. It speaks to character. And for me, character matters. Character matters. Okay, so let's look at some fact checking. Okay, in some fact checking. Now, these are fact checking Trump's immigration related claims in Phoenix and Las Vegas. So this is recent, right? This is recent. This posted June 17th, 2024. Okay, here we go. Former President Donald Trump has made illegal immigration and its impact on the U.S. a focus of his campaign, but several of his talking points are wrong or misleading. Here's what we found among his immigration claims at recent events in the electoral swing states of Arizona and Nevada. And I'm just going to center here, and you're welcome to do a deeper dive. I'm going to put the links in my description on YouTube. Trump falsely said that a proclamation by President Joe Biden to limit asylum eligibility establishes an annual minimum of approximately 2 million illegal alien border crossers. That was false. It says he distorted how a mobile app for asylum appointments operated, saying it allows, in his words, free entry to be released into the United States at the push of a button. This is untrue. Applicants are screened and appointments are limited. Okay. Trump offered wildly exaggerated border crossing statistics. For instance, he said that in April, and these are quotes from him, border crossings were up 1,000% compared to the same month last year. Okay, that was incorrect. Apprehensions, which are a proxy for illegal crossings, were actually down by 30%. Okay? And it does go on to say, if Trump meant April 2020 instead of last year, that's misleading. Apprehensions plunged that month due to the pandemic. Okay? It says he distorted reporting by the New York Times to misleadingly claim that, quote, 88,000, end quote, unaccompanied minors who came to the United States illegally and were processed by the Biden administration, quote, are missing, end quote, and, quote, many of those children are dead. That was very distorted, and it was misleading. Another point, Trump claimed that, quote, more drugs are coming into our country right now than at any time in our history, end quote. Federal data for drug seizures by weight are trending down under Biden. That is the truth. As a proxy for drug smuggling, that data suggests that fewer drugs, not more, are coming into the country. Okay? Now, it does say this. Fentanyl seizures, however, have increased significantly under both Trump and Biden. Okay? Here's one more, and then I'm going to go to PolitiFact. Okay. Trump claimed that, quote, 300,000 people are dying a year, end quote, in the US from drugs, and said the figure is, quote, probably more than that, end quote. Well, a federal agency reported that there were 107,941 drug overdose deaths in 2022. And a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention researcher previously told us, meaning fact check, that any undercount, quote, should be relatively small, end quote. Okay. Oh, yeah, I want to mention this one because he was talking about that immigrants are taking our jobs. Okay. He thought, this is Trump. Trump falsely claimed that, quote, virtually 100% of the new jobs under Biden have also gone to illegal aliens, end quote. This is what Fact Check says. Since Biden became president in January 2021, employment of US-born workers has increased more than employment of foreign-born workers, which includes those in the US legally. Okay, so it is very important to do some fact checking because that speaks to character, it speaks to credibility, right? It speaks to intent to mislead. And I think those things are important. Very, very important in someone who's going to be the president of the United States. Now let's go to PolitiFact. I know I want to keep saying Politico, but it's actually PolitiFact. Okay. And PolitiFact, I like PolitiFact. It says what Donald Trump said and where he said it. And then it has a truth meter on the side that you can tell whether it's false, mostly false, true, mostly true, or pants on fire, which really means kind of like liar, liar, pants on fire. So here we go with PolitiFact. At a July 24th, 2024 rally in Charlotte, North Carolina, Donald Trump said Kamala Harris, quote, supported abolishing ICE, end quote. The truth meter says false. That was a false statement. And I had to click down to see what else he said about immigration. Okay, let's see what this one says. Okay, this is what Donald Trump stated on June 6th, 2024 in a campaign rally. Joe Biden's immigration order limiting asylum is, quote, pro-child trafficking, end quote. PolitiFact said false. That was a false statement. Okay, let's scroll down to a couple more. Let's see. Oh, okay. This one was dated on May 31st, 2024 in remarks to reporters. Donald Trump said, and I quote, Congo, Africa, just released a lot of people from their prisons and jails and brought them into the United States of America. Guess what PolitiFact said? Pants on fire, which means that was an absolute lie. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay. Mhm. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, here we go. This was stated on April 2nd, 2024 in a speech. Donald Trump said, crime is down in Venezuela by 67% because they're taking their gangs and their criminals and depositing them very nicely into the United States. PolitiFact says false. Okay, let's see what else is said about immigration. Ooh, let's see. Okay, he said, this is going to be my last one. You're welcome to check out PolitiFact on your own. If you put in Trump and immigration, you can scroll through. I found that I could find it better if I just put his name in and just kind of scrolled through the different things that he said and find what he said about immigration that was immigration related. Stated on March 9th, 2024, in a speech, Trump says Biden has implemented a formal policy that illegal aliens who intrude into the United States are granted immunity from deportation. PolitiFact, Truthometer, false. So I could go on, I could go on, I could go on, because there's a lot in here, a lot in here that you can deep dive into on your own. And yeah, y'all, I had to come back and because I thought of something that I forgot to include when I originally recorded my video about immigration, something I remembered. What he actually said, and I quote, "I will build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me. Believe me, and I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I'll have Mexico pay for that wall." I don't know if y'all remember that, but as I was pondering what I was talking about to you earlier, I was like, wait a minute. He made a promise that he was going to build a great wall and that Mexico was going to pay for it. And actually, that promise was broken. So let's look more deeply into that because I feel like that's very important. And again, it speaks to character and it speaks to his ability to deliver on what he is promising during this campaign. Because every time he kept um, backing up on, I kept thinking, wait a minute, he said Mexico was going to pay for it. He said Mexico was going to pay for it. So anyway, let's look at this. He said, mark my words. This is when he launched his presidential campaign on June 16th, 2015. He was going to build a great wall. It was going to be very inexpensive, and he was going to have Mexico pay for that wall. More than 3 years into Trump's presidency, his administration's actions have not risen to his promise. This comes again from PolitiFact. Let's look at what he did accomplish. Okay. It says Trump's administration mainly replaced barriers installed by previous administrations with new ones that are expected to be more effective in stopping illegal immigration and drug smuggling. Mexico has not paid for any construction. Americans paying for the cost. The U.S.-Mexico border spans approximately 2,000 miles, and about a third of it has barriers raised by the U.S. government over decades. That hasn't increased during Trump's presidency. Some sections of the border have up to 3 layers of barriers that run parallel to the border. The first impediment a migrant heading to the United States may face is known by officials as the primary barrier, fencing to stop people on foot and in vehicles. Secondary barriers, located behind the primary, are in place to stop pedestrians. A third layer or tertiary fence is primarily used to delineate property lines rather than to deter illegal entries, said a 2017 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. When Trump was campaigning to become president, the southwest border had 654 miles of primary barriers. Under Trump, that has increased by 3 miles to 657. What else? As of late June, 184 miles of dilapidated primary barriers were replaced with updated fences. 12 miles that had dilapidated secondary barriers now have new structures, and secondary barriers were raised for the first time along 17 miles. U.S. Customs and Border Protection over the years has used bollard, wire mesh, and chain link style fencing as barriers. Landing mat fencing, built using the Vietnam War area. I'm sorry, built using Vietnam War area helicopter landing mats. That's a lot of words. Has also been used. The new barriers going up include 18 to 30-foot high steel bollard fences. The Trump administration says it built a new border wall system. Steel, bollard fences, all-weather roads, lighting, cameras, and other surveillance technology. The barriers constructed are very different from the pedestrian and vehicle fencing that they are replacing, said a January report from the Congressional Research Service. They pose a formidable barrier, but it is not the high, thick masonry structure that most dictionaries term a wall, the report said. Overall, when Trump says they built 200 miles or more of border wall, what he's referring to is the replacement of older barriers with new fences, not 200 miles of barriers protecting the border for the first time. It's not a wall, but it's not nothing. Replacing vehicle barriers with the bollard-style pedestrian barriers may not represent new miles of primary barriers along the border, but it does represent a new obstacle that changes the calculus of those attempting to cross the border between ports of entry, the Congressional Research Service report said. Now, construction costs. Trump gave different answers during his 2016 campaign when asked about the cost of building a border wall. At times, he said $8 billion or $12 billion. Customs and Border Protection in June told PolitiFact that the administration had identified approximately $15 billion to construct more than 700 miles of a new border wall system. That mileage includes projects completed, and about 400 of the 700 miles are replacement projects. The Mexican government is not one of the funding sources. The money would come from the U.S. Departments of Homeland Security and Defense and from the Treasury Forfeiture Fund. So, okay, that was one obstacle. Now, another obstacle Trump has faced comes from landowners in Texas who are putting up a legal fight against the administration's intent to obtain their private land for border barrier construction. Given the current pace of construction, ongoing court battles related to the Defense Department funding and land needed for construction, the Trump administration will not complete a total 700 miles by the end of 2020. This report was done sometime back. You can tell by the dates. But the main things that this report really bears mentioning is that he did not keep his promise. He did not fulfill his promise to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. Instead, he put the onus of responsibility on U.S. shoulders. So I thought about this and I thought it was very important for me to add this part to what I had shared because I think it's very important. Sometimes I think people have a very short memory and they can kind of glamorize the past and distort it. And this was a significant point that he ran his campaign on. And he didn't deliver on it. So again, I said, important to me when vetting a candidate is not just promises made, because what's put on paper, what's put on this Agenda 47, some parts of that are concerning enough, but then you look at that person's track record and it looks like he really over-exaggerated his effectiveness in building the wall. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. And I look forward to reading some of your comments. I can't get to all of them. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to only respond to those that are not taking pot shots and not being condescending and sarcastic and mean-spirited. Those I am not going to respond to. I do not respond to childishness. I do not. I'm not going to do it. But for those of you that we can have an honest conversation, I have no problems responding in the comments. Okay? Take care.